to talk about. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
What
afternoon.
what a week.
It's just crazy. Oh, you've disappeared, Debbie. Your
I'm
screen
here
is...
now.
I can
Oh,
hear you, but I can't see you.
well,
You've
that's
kind of...
odd because I can see me, sadly, and hear me, and I can see and hear you. I don't know
Oh, can you?
if there's anybody in the chat. Perhaps they could let us. Can you see us both? Okay. Can you hear us both? Okay.
You seem to have just disappeared for some reason in terms of your camera anyways disappeared, but I can definitely hear you. I don't know if you want to go back out and come back in.
Yeah.
I'll jump straight in with
You carry on.
I'll carry on, and when you come in, I'll bring you in. But I'm going to start with Starmer anyway, Debbie. I'm going to start with Starmer anyway. We've got Keir Starmer basically saying that he's never giving up. He says so. Let's have a listen to the mighty, I should say, shouldn't I, Chairman Starmer. Let's bring him in.
I'm fighting for them. I am their Prime Minister, and this is their government. And I will never give up on that fight. There are some people in recent days who say the Labour government should have a different fight, a fight with itself, instead of a fight for the millions of people who need us to fight for them. And I say to them, I will never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I am charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love. And that is the country who I truly believe we are, a compassionate, reasonable, live and let live country, a diverse country, where given half the chance, we'll help each other out. That is who we are as a country, and I want to serve every single part of that country. The country that I love. But the fight coming up in politics, the real fight, is not in the Labour Party. It's with the right-wing politics that challenges that. The politics of reform. The politics of divide, divide, divide. Grievance, grievance, grievance. That will tear our country apart. That is the fight that we are in. And I will be in that fight as long as I have breath in my body.
Well, while we're waiting for Debbie to come and join us, she's having a bit of a technical problem. We lost her camera slightly. Interested to know, guys, if anyone who's watching at the moment, what your thoughts are. I mean, I straight away, I'm just seeing scripted nonsense. Oh, here we are. Debbie's coming back.
Oh, I hope I'm
Debbie
coming back.
You're here. You're
Hello.
here. Hello,
I'm
Debbie.
back.
Hello.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So we just had a little clip of Chairman Starmer. I do apologise. I was saying Keir Starmer before, but I want to continue calling him Chairman Starmer. So basically he said he's never giving up. He says, I will never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country I love.
You know when you feel a little bit sick? I saw a little meme going around of somebody trying to pull him out of Downing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Literally dragging him out of Downing. I mean, yeah, he's not gonna go, but he is gonna go. He's got to go. Look, everybody around him is going. His advisors are going. People are dropping like flies. The Labour Party are kicking off. It's gonna get bigger and bigger. This is the story that's never going to go away. You know, what is Starmer's involvement in pretty much everything? What is he doing? He is a tyrant in my opinion, and he needs to go. But as you've said, and as we've said before, if he does go, which I think eventually he'll have to, who's going to replace him? That's even scarier.
Quite. I mean, we've talked about this. I feel they're only playing by the script anyway, and they're going to take us wherever the paymasters decide that they're going to take. Or the country's been shaped not by our politicians. It's been shaped by a silent, invisible few, I would imagine, that are paying these guys to take us into totalitarianism. That's what it is, a dystopian future that's, well, it's not even a future anymore, because a dystopia is here. And speaking of the totalitarian digital prison, you know, Mandelson was very much involved, as we touched upon last week, on bANTer. So I've got a couple of clips regarding the bit of the debate in Parliament regarding bANTer, because this isn't to be ignored, because this is going to affect everybody forever.
Ever.
That's the problem. Okay, so let's have a listen to what was being said in Parliament.
When the Prime Minister met with bANTer and Peter Mandelson in February 2025 in Washington, DC, was the Prime Minister aware that bANTer were a client of Peter Mandelson's firm, Global Counsel?
Yes or no?
Minister. As I replied to the right-honourable gentleman behind him, that's a matter for Downing Street to publish in due course. I've spent the last 3 days in Saudi Arabia, I'm afraid, so just catching up with the events of the last few days. I've been clear about where that information will come from, and I can direct him in that direction.
When the Prime Minister...
So, I mean, what makes me laugh about these guys, Debbie, is that they're able to laugh this stuff off to avoid any kind of answer. They always do the same bloody trick.
It's a theatre. It's just a pantomime. Luke Pollard, interesting character, Plymouth MP. I've had some dealings with Luke Pollard. None of them any good, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, what cheeses me off more than anything and upsets me more than anything is that these scandals come, whether it's Partygate, whatever it is, these scandals come and they hit the news and it's a massive, massive story, and tons of people end up stepping down, resigning, being sacked, disgraced, having their titles stripped. And then what?
And then what?
They've just slipped off. Yeah. They've literally...
Well, what's David Cameron doing now?
Nothing's happened.
Where's David Cameron now? What's he doing?
We'll see him soon, I'm sure.
You know,
I mean, these people are. Where's June Rain? Where are you, Jonathan Van Tam? Jonathan Van Tam.
Van bloody Tam.
Oh, yeah, he's busy. You know, the Assistant Chief Medical Officer. He's busy
manufacturing
the first mRNA injection in the UK manufacturing. So for anybody that thinks that mRNA is going away, it's not. But all of these characters are slipping away, unaccounted for.
All the time.
Disappearing, all during COVID. All of these big characters that we saw on our screens every single day, giving us the same scary messages, they've all disappeared.
Well, they keep us distracted enough, Debbie, where we just forget the last story, because there's so many stories coming through. There's so much nonsense coming through. You forget that these guys have done so much damage. And
vaccine injured will never forget you. Well, vaccine injured, midazolam, morphine, those that lost their lives, those with mental health, those that went through absolute hell during lockup, those have been locked up.
Yeah,
we'll never forget, and we must never forget, because people are starting to forget. Because you're right, this is an information cascade. If it's not war, it's famine. If it's not famine, it's another pandemic. If it's a health, it's just like constant news,
constant.
And that's the plan, I'm afraid. But we must never forget.
No,
we're 6 years down the line now, you know, since people were hugging each other through plastic sheets, since people were talking over perspex.
We mustn't forget about 9/11, Debbie.
No,
we mustn't forget that, you know, Building 7 just fell down because of office fires. Yeah, right. You know, exactly. and these towers turned to dust.
Exactly. Manchester Arena, all
of this stuff. We should never forget this stuff.
Never forget.
Who's being held to account? None of them.
Nobody. And the inquiries that we have for all of these events, they're just data harvesting and a way of, you know, just documenting what happened and how people reacted. It's not to bring people to account.
No, never is. But this is why bANTer thing is very important, I think, because this is what's happening right now, and it's people like Mandelson and Chairman Starmer that are bringing forward this digital prison. And this was a £240 million government contract.
Yeah.
And it's been done without tender, apparently, which we'll look at now.
December 2025, bANTer won a 3-year contract worth £240 million from the government. This contract, which is 3 times larger than any that bANTer has previously won, was awarded without tender. will the Minister ensure that there is full transparency of how this decision was made and who was involved? And does he agree with me more widely that resignations under the last government meant that true accountability could be evaded and obscured, and that all our constituents wanted from us and this government was the change that we promised to deliver?
In the first part of my honourable friend's question, I can assure her that all procurement rules have been followed, but if there is any suggestion of wrongdoing, we have powers under the Procurement Act to take action if required. On the second part of her question, I agree with her that the public were calling for change at the last election, partly because of the repeated scandal issues that happened under the last administration, and that's why, as I've set out today, we've already taken action to make the Ethics Advisor independent, institute the Ethics and Integrity Commission, and as I've set out in my statement today, we will go further.
Well, they do this all the time as well, where they go to, or the previous administration did this, so we're having to sort that issue out and all that. And it's always, that's the thing, it's always the last person, and we're trying to fix this mess, and then they get voted out, and then the new government come in and go, oh, we've got to fix all the crap they've just done.
And that's the thing that we end up talking about. So let's go back here, shall we? Let's go back. Let's look at Palantir. Palantir are a private company. They were founded by Peter Thiel, who bankrolled Trump's campaign. Let's get things straight, shall we? So Palantir, private company, tied up to Mossad, CIA, DARPA. They have private contracts with pretty much every government around the world, and they are harvesting every single bit of our data. Now let's move it on a little bit, because let's bring Palantir into the United Kingdom, which we clearly have. So every single bit of medical data that anybody is putting into the NHS app is going straight to Palantir via the Federated Data Platform. Palantir isn't just embedded in our national health system. It's embedded in the DWP. It's embedded in our police. It's embedded in our Ministry of Defence. It's pretty much got its tentacles in every single part of our system. This is a private company with links to Mossad intelligence, CIA, in the UK. Every single bit of your health data, where is it going? Where? You don't know. And this is why people say to me, oh, I don't care who's got my data. Well, you should. You really should, because collectively, the NHS on its own is the biggest database in the world, medical database in the world.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't Palantir want their fingers in the pie? And they use the Foundry. Actually, I would like to say that for anybody that doesn't know, Sam Williams, otherwise known as Swilliamism, on YouTube, is an absolutely fantastic YouTuber. And in the last 24 hours, he's brought out a very good video about Palantir. Please do go and watch it, because it's only short. It's only 8 minutes, but it'll tell you pretty much all you need to know about Palantir and why you should be worried.
Absolutely, we should be worried. And we really need to fight this nonsense, because this is our kids' future. It's not just us now. We're dealing with humanity as a whole that is going to be under a digital prison, and the Palantir technology is terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. And, they were crafty. They did it very well, of course, because right in the beginning, when they started putting bids in, they put bids in for £1 to the government. They went in quietly. But you've got to look at Peter Thiel, who founded Palantir. He's the transhumanist. Let's not forget, these are transhumanists. These people, in my opinion, are completely mad. And they've got all the money to control the agenda moving forward. And Palantir, they're laughing all the way to the transhuman CBDC digital prison that we're all walking straight into.
It's frightening, Debbie. It really is. And this is why people have got to come together and build the networks and their communities, because it's only the people that's going to stop this.
Do you know what? And I don't normally get kind of a bit teasy, but I am getting teasy now because people have got to, it's all very well watching podcasts, and it's lovely that people are watching us, and it's lovely that people are tuning into us, but we've all got to do something now. We've got to really do something. And I put a little poll out on X, because I've got a little bit active now on X, and I put a poll out to say, basically, are you pissed off with the government? End of. Yes or no. There's no in between, there's no maybe, but it's yes or no.
Yeah.
And at 99, there's always one, isn't there? 99% of people that I polled, which was just less than 200 over 24 hours, said they were pissed off with the government. Now, that's good enough for me. I don't know if it's good enough for everybody else, but I don't care whether you're pissed off with them if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're black, if you're white. I don't care if you're pissed off with them because your child can't get into the school you want them to get into, or if you're struggling to pay the bills, or you don't like the agenda moving forward, or you don't like what's been going on. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that all of those people, we are all pissed off. And actually, does it matter for a minute when things have got so dire, so dark? Does it really matter our small differences? Can we not just say, look, we'll argue about the other things going down the line? We can debate and we can discuss religion and politics and the future and education and health. We can discuss that. There's plenty of time to discuss that. But for a minute, can we just stop, put those differences aside, and all come together and say, look, we have had enough. And you and I were talking just before we came on, and we were likening it to a queue, how patient the British are in a queue. You know, we have a big queuing etiquette. If anybody pushes into the queue, excuse me, you don't do that. You know, you're patient, you're tolerant, you're kind, but you don't push into a queue. Have we become too complacent? Have we become too tolerant? Have we become too just apathetic, if you like? Because I feel now, I just want to say to everybody, come on, we're all on the same side. We're all pissed off with for one reason or another. So
yeah, apathy is the biggest problem, Debbie. We've talked about it loads, you and I, haven't we? Apathy is the biggest problem in this country.
It's a killer.
We think that a lot of people think that somebody cleverer than you or in the right position is going to save the day.
Yeah,
it's down to us.
Nobody's coming in to save us. No one is coming. Divine intervention is what we need right now. But on a human level, we have to do this ourselves. We have to take accountability. We have to take responsibility, and we have to be brave. You know, this is all about bravery. And for me, the reason that I do what I do, and I know that you do too, Ant, is because we want to be able to sleep at night. And it's all down to intention. It's like we just want to tell people what we're seeing, and throw out maybe a few red flags that people might want to go and have a look at, signposts, navigate people to where we're going. But at the end of the day, we are very strong. And people say to me, oh yeah, but it's just me, I'm on my own. You're not on your own. You're really not on your own. There's thousands and thousands of us. Whether I wrote a little piece on X about it, you know, whether it's your neighbor that's growing food quietly, whether it's another person down the road that's homeschooling their child, whether it's the lady around the corner that's a bit gobby and she's not scared to speak up, and she will. You know, people are waking up, and I don't like using the phrase waking up. They're becoming more aware.
It's awareness.
They're seeing more of what's going on. They're starting to ask more questions. You're not on your own anymore. You're not. It's not just a few of us. It's bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just that it feels a very lonely place.
It feels very lonely. But that's why we're setting up Camp 3 in a way.
3.
You know, so we can have these conversations and hopefully build towards having a community. If we stick to UK government though, and Parliament, and we've talked a few times about this, Debbie. There's something weird going on regarding China, and Ed Miliband's been highlighted this week of some secret energy deals apparently with China. So there's been a discussion going on there. I've got a couple of clips that we can look at and then commentate back with. So let's bring this situation up here.
A secret energy deal with China, which he has refused to publish. This is simply unheard of. We've heard repeatedly from intelligence services that China might seek to disrupt our energy system, so it is crucially important the public get to see what he has signed us up to. So will the Secretary of State commit to publishing the full text of his secret energy deal with China? And if not, can he tell the House what it is he's trying to hide?
So what is he trying to hide then? Because he said, Ed Miliband came straight in with, this is a wacky conspiracy theory. But then he was questioned, and let's see how he dodges these questions, Debbie, because these politicians, why is anybody ever trusting a politician? We've not learned this yet. You know, these are masters at deflection, aren't they?
Filibustering.
Oh, they drive me mad. Here we go.
But explicitly, do you believe that China poses a security risk to our energy system?
Of course, there are security risks in relation to China that we've got to be vigilant about.
Specifically with regard to our
well, that's
energy
what,
system.
yes, I'm saying to you, that's why we've got to be very cautious about our energy system.
Okay, so given that acknowledged caution, you know, the sort of topics that Parliament deserves to see the detail on include whether this deal involved commitments not to complain to China about slave labour being used in solar production, supply chains, commitments to maintain resilience on maintain reliance on Chinese supply chains.
Do ask me, Mr. Thomas, any questions you like about our relationship to China.
And this is what I'm doing. So why not publish the text of the deal?
Why don't you, as I say, we're following the practice of the previous government.
But Secretary of State, you've released the text of deals with other countries. Why is China being treated differently?
I'm just explaining to you that we're following the practice of previous governments. But
I'm asking about this government. This government
do ask me, Mr. Thomas, any questions you like.
This government has published the text of deals with other countries. Why not release the text of the deal for China?
As I say, we're following the previous practice.
I'm talking about this government, Secretary of State. You've released it for other countries.
We're following the previous practice, as I said.
Text.
But do ask me any questions about our relationship with China.
So why not release the text?
Well, I think I've explained to you the practices that we're following, and with certain countries, we have certain approaches, and with others we have other approaches.
Okay, so if there's a different approach to China, why is China different?
Well, as I say, just ask me any questions you like
on this. And that's what I'm doing.
Topic.
This is the question I would like to ask. So why is China being treated differently?
I've answered the question, Mr. Thomas.
He's answered that quite a few times.
I don't believe he has. He's made reference to the previous government, but this government has.
Whether you like the answer is another matter, but he has.
This government has a very inconsistent approach, Chairman. They've released the text of deals with other countries, but not with China. There is a two-tier approach, quite evidently. So if the government is going to apply a uniform approach, why does the Secretary of State not release the text of this deal?
We proceed on the basis of on a certain basis with some countries and a different basis with different countries, as has been the practice of previous governments. But honestly, ask me any questions about our relationship with China, and I'll answer them for you.
And that's what I've been doing, but you haven't answered them, Secretary of State.
Well, you obviously don't have any questions actually about the substance. What is your question on the substance, Mr. Thomas?
Substantively, I would like to see the government release the text of this deal, as Parliament deserves to see. Now, the Secretary of State can chuckle and laugh and be evasive around the topic, but it's a serious issue.
Wonderful.
It's shocking. You know, honestly, it's shocking. These people take us for idiots. They take us for absolute idiots. I mean, if I thought he was really calm, because I would have been going, answer the question. You know, I would have been getting pretty irate, because I don't know how many times it was asked, why don't you release the papers? You do on every other country, so why not on China?
Exactly. So
because because the previous government, that's not an answer.
No, of course it's not an answer. But this is the thing, it's that deflection again, isn't it? They constantly do the same thing.
Who trusts Ed Miliband?
I really don't know.
I could say so much about energy in China and fossil fuels and producing wind turbines for us that they don't use themselves. I could say so much about the energy debate and China.
Well, I think that story is going to continue. I think more things are going to come out because, and I'm sure that anything that is discussed regarding those topics, we're happy to chat about them because they need to be
talked about.
It doesn't matter what country it is. I don't give a monkeys. It's how it affects us. That's the question. How is it affecting us day to day? And who's influencing us? And who's influencing our governments?
Who's governing us?
Yeah, exactly. Who is governing us? Because it's just a disgrace.
Nobody, Laura.
Yeah, Laura,
I
exactly.
don't.
Nobody. It's just they're outrageous. These people, outrageous.
Well, I've always said I think in my opinion, we're being governed by organised crime, just a gang of organised criminals.
It is. Of course, it is. Carrying on with Parliament, because I know we've got a couple of topics we want to talk in. We've got the Tory leader asking Keir Starmer regarding Matthew Doyle. Getting Matthew Doyle a peerage. He was actually campaigned for someone charged with child sex offences. This is a common theme, isn't it? That goes on in high-end politics and high-end business. It's how disgusting are these people? However, let's see what gets me right, Debbie. When you watch these clips, while we're all struggling away, these guys are having a right old laugh in Parliament.
Oh, yeah.
A right
loving
old, oh yeah, a right old laugh.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is demonstrating stratospheric levels of delusion if he thinks the problem is on this side of the House. And he didn't say anything about why the Cabinet Secretary is going. We know the truth. It is because he is throwing everyone under a bus except himself. And Mr. Speaker, the Mandelson episode was not an isolated incident. A few weeks ago, he announced a peerage for one Matthew Doyle, his former Director of Communications. Immediately after that, the Sunday Times published on the front page that Doyle campaigned for a man charged with child sex offences. Yet, despite the Prime Minister knowing this, he gave Doyle a job for life in the House of Lords anyway. Why?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Matthew Doyle did not give a full account of his actions. And on Monday, I promised my party and my country there would be change. And yesterday, I removed the whip from Matthew Doyle. I'll tell you what other action we've taken, Mr. Speaker. Along with the Safeguarding Minister, I and this government have introduced the most far-reaching violence against women and girls strategy. And I'll tell you what else we've done. This government has introduced a pay rise for millions of working-class women. What did the Leader of the Opposition do? She opposed it. This government's introducing greater protection for women at work. What did the Leader of the Opposition do? She opposed it. And I'll tell you what else she opposes. This government removing the disgusting rape clause that they put in place.
It's panto time, isn't it?
Do you know what? It's so serious and it's so grave, I can't even see a funny side. And normally you can say, oh, well, it's just a joke, isn't it? They're just jokes. But actually, this is dangerous stuff. This is really dangerous stuff.
Yes, it is. It's all serious stuff, but they're having a laugh in Parliament.
They actually are, and the brass neck of it. I mean, I wouldn't. Well, there's no words. What can I say?
There isn't. They get away with everything. Like we said, there's no accountability on these people.
That's
they'll
why
just
we
disappear.
have to stand up. That's why it's only us that can make this happen. Otherwise, they're just going to get away with it. They're laughing at us because we're all sitting around seeing what's going on, but nobody's doing anything about it. And everybody will probably say, well, what do you expect us to do? Well, let's get a plan together. And if we're all on the same side, then there's more of us than there are of them. End of.
That's very true. The Tory leader had another comment that's just worth bringing up as well. So we'll bring that up and see Starmer's reaction here.
The Prime Minister pretends not to know about Matthew Doyle. It was on the front page of the Sunday Times. He cannot explain why he gave this man a peerage, and I think they should be wondering why they're still cheering for him after that. And the Prime Minister, sometimes likes to claim, as he just did, that he cares about violence against women. The truth is, He only cares about the victims when he's trying to save his own skin. They can shake their heads. We saw it with grooming gangs. We saw it with Mandelson. And now we see it with Doyle. Isn't that what a former prosecutor would call an established pattern of behaviour?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to take no lectures from the Tories in standards in public life. She defended Partygate for months and months and months. And even now she says it was overblown. The Shadow Foreign Secretary broke the ministerial code by bullying. Boris Johnson kept her. The leader of the opposition promoted her. She sits on her front bench. Her former Shadow Justice Secretary complained about not seeing enough white faces in Birmingham, and she was too weak to sack him for racism.
Again, it's just like, it's like watching Spitting Image for me. You know, they're just having this laugh, and then what happens when they finish Parliament, Debbie? When they go home, they don't give a crap about the people.
No,
I mean, no
you
interest.
can't take any of what you've just seen seriously. You can't take any of it seriously at all. And you know, most parliamentarians, they'll go home on a Thursday afternoon. They're not in that. That's why so many important debates that people want to see, like assisted dying, so many debates, vaccine injuries, take place on a Friday afternoon, because many of the parliamentarians have gone home because they've said, oh, you know, we've got to get back to, maybe some of them have come from, you know, Cornwall, for example, so they're going home early and they're not even there. It's just it's almost offensive that they think for 1 minute that as we watch this, we're going to believe them. I'm not believing any of them. It's all theatre. It's all acting. None of it's real.
No, none of it's real at all. Did you hear about the order of the deletion of the UK's largest court reporting archive?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see that as well?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, that seriously, what on earth is going on with our justice kind of situation as well? You know, I mean, this is, so what I was reading, so the Ministry of Justice have ordered the deletion of the UK's largest court reporting archive, Court's Desk, a platform launched to improve media access to magistrates' court data, and it's been ordered to delete its archive of records by the wonderful David Lammy, you know, the Ministry of Justice. According to Court's Desk, the platform has been used by more than 1,500 journalists from 39 media organisations, and the data provided has highlighted serious failures in the court system. It said journalists were given no advance notice of 1.6 million criminal hearings. The number of court cases listed was accurate on just 4.2% of sit-in days, and 500,000 weekend cases were heard with no notification to the press. And in November, HM Court and Tribunal Service issued the company a cessation notice citing what was called unauthorised sharing of court data on the basis of test feature, claiming this was a data protection issue. This is a problem, isn't it?
Huge. It's not just this, though. That did you see there was some kind of vehicle outside Downing Street that seemed to be shredding a lot of documents?
I saw that, yeah.
We seem to be shredding and deleting a lot of documents, and even now when you go on to Government UK, you go for a document and there's an error and the document's gone, and this is the danger now of everything that's going to be deleted. And a right to knowledge, a right to openness and transparency, it's all gone. They're hiding everything, burning everything. And justice, no justice. We don't have a justice system or a health system.
Well, I mean, and obviously they're on about getting rid of juries as well, and everything's going into AI and the digital prison that we keep talking about. All this is, it's all linked, and with Palantir and everything else we're talking about, and the links with China and everything else, this is all linked.
Of course it is.
And then that brings me to an article that you've just written that we're going to be putting on the Camp 3 news website, or hopefully over the weekend, and that's regarding 5-minute cities. I don't know if you want to
5-minute cities. We're all talking about 15-minute cities. I think that's going to be a bit of a luxury for some. So there's this Nordhaven, I'm sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, have done this. They've literally drawn circles around little tiny areas, and they've prettied it all up to make you think that your prison is actually your paradise. So everything's going to be within 5 minutes. Your healthcare, your school, but it's all going to be pristine. It's all going to be beautiful. Now we can look at that and go, oh, that's never going to work. It's not going to happen, like we did with 15-minute cities. But if you look at the latest UK government publication, Pride in Place, that they've just brought in, that's kind of because of all that we've talked about with Starmer, all that we will talk about with Epstein, royal family, everything else. All of this gets buried. And it's like, wow, you know, these experiments are going on in other countries, and 5-minute cities are a thing. And if you look at the Pride in Place, they want to make your community, your immediate community, very pretty. So you've got flowers, so you've got cycle lanes, but basically you're going to be in a prison. And all of you are going to be together, and you're going to be sharing municipal areas. They're going to make sure that you've got nature on your doorstep. They're going to make sure you've got a bit of forestry, or they've got some apple trees or whatever. But 5-minute cities are a thing. We need to be keeping our eyes on it, because we're all talking about 15-minute cities. And I think now people are starting to accept that that wasn't a conspiracy. It never was a conspiracy theory, although we had tin hats on at the time when we started talking about it. But now they are actually looking at 5-minute cities. And is this what we want? Because the net is closing in. And I can see where we're zoning 15-minute cities. Even if you've got a 15-minute city somewhere like Oxford, then you're still using zones within that 15-minute city. So what are we looking at here in the future? It reminds me a bit of the TV series, The Prisoner.
Yeah. I'm not a number, Debbie. I'm a free man.
Exactly.
So there's only us that can resolve the situation, though, because
it is.
We're the commodity, we're the power.
We really are. I wish people realized how much power they had. I think everybody individually, you don't think you have got any power, you don't think you've got a say, but collectively you have. And if you just stand one person's, it's like masks, isn't it? When back in COVID, if you walked into a supermarket without a mask, it was always easier if there was somebody else. There was 2 of you, and then there was 3, and then there was 4. So we just have to do this, like one person does this, and then another one, and then another one, and eventually we'll get there. But yeah, 5-minute cities, keep an eye on the article that'll be coming up on Camp 3. There's a few articles coming up on Camp 3, including antimicrobial resistance. That's another thing that we've got to talk about in the future too. Lots coming up on Camp 3, actually.
So Cheeky Sprites asks, so if your family is in a different zone, you won't be able to see them?
No, I mean, you'll get permits. You'll
That's
get
right.
a permit. You'll be allowed a specific number of permits, but of course, I guess in the future, that's going to depend on if you're a good behaved citizen and you've complied and you've been for your NHS annual checkup to make sure that you're all up to date with your jabs and you're in a good, fit, healthy state. Because I've also put predictions on X on what I see in the future for the NHS. So, you know, honestly, just keep an eye on Camp 3. We've got a lot of news coming up. We really have. I don't know where to even start with it, to be honest.
No, not at all. The royals, Debbie. That's a subject that I know you dig into a little bit yourself. And who's Andrew Loney? Before we play these clips, do you want to explain who he is?
Yeah, so we've got a number of royal commentators that are doing a lot of press appearances. Andrew Loney is the author of Entitled, which basically exposed the whole of the Andrew York, Ferguson, Epstein scandal. And he's been working on it for years. He's written many books, many books. And he, and together with many other big names, Tom Boyers, Tom Sykes, they've all been saying an awful lot, and eventually it's all coming out in the press now that there are very serious allegations towards the whole of the monarchy. The whole of the monarchy is an absolute crisis at the moment. You know, you've got the Yorks one side, you've got the Sussexes the other side, we've got sex trafficking, we've got bodies buried in palace grounds, golf courses. I mean, excuse me, what the heck is going on here? We've got stories of multi-millions of pounds being siphoned one place or another. And this just doesn't affect the royals here. We've got all the political figures as well wending their way into it, like Mandelson, like Blair. You know, all of these figures, they all intertwine into each other. But you know, when you look at the Sussexes, everybody's looking at Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and wondering, is he going to get a knock on the door from the police any minute? And yes, I should probably think but nobody's got any faith in his brother, the king. And people are now asking questions about Queen Elizabeth. You know, well, she didn't want to upset the apple cart during her Jubilee year. And, you know, you get that. But at the same time, you can still celebrate the Queen and still know about what's going on and that they are very upset that this has happened with another member of the family, i.e. Andrew and Sarah. But it's clear to me that Andrew and Sarah were the weak links all along. So if Jeffrey Epstein wanted to get his fingers into pies and get secrets like Mandelson was giving, then he could get them via Andrew and Fergie because they were greedy. They wanted the money. They spent money like water. So it's very easy, isn't it? And it would appear now that Andrew, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it would appear to me that from reports, he appears to be a bit of a sex addict. I mean, 40 prostitutes apparently were brought to him within 4 days abroad. And I'm sorry, but, you know, he's got 2 daughters. He had a wife at the time. And then there's rumors of Meghan Markle. She was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, Karina, and has been pictured on yachts. And it's been talked about, did she have a relationship with Andrew at some point? The whole thing is a mess. And now we've got the revelations of King Charles donated, what was it, 1.5 million to the Virginia Giuffre payment, the 12 million. The Queen as well, they were all chipping in to the Virginia Giuffre payment. Blair appears to be named in the Epstein. There's pretty much all sorts of people, but everybody's focusing on Andrew. There's plenty of American names that have been mentioned. There's plenty more British names that have been mentioned. Andrew Loney has been, I think he's probably appeared on a podcast or somewhere pretty much every day, because everything that he brought out seems to be now backed up by witness events, and it's just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And he said, you know, he's had death threats. He was told to shut up. He was his evidence was closed down by publishers. He wasn't allowed to publish some stuff, but he's been diligent. He's been really diligent, and he's been really thorough. I mean, really thorough. And everything that he's been saying and everything that he's dug up seems to point the finger very strongly at this whole huge network, including Andrew's time as UK envoy. You know, and we don't know what went on there at all. But I've got some thoughts of my own, because whilst Andrew was UK envoy, you've got to remember that Prince Charles was cruising around the world on Britannia, and that's why he got so upset. That's why everybody got so upset. It was a mobile office basically, and he was doing business deals. And we know now what King Charles is into: sustainability and all the rest of it. So a lot of the money that was being siphoned off from charities and from philanthropists and from sporting events has been siphoned off into King Charles's sustainability. So he's not looking good at the moment. And everybody's going, the king is weak. The king is covering up for stuff. And it wouldn't surprise me, just my feeling, it wouldn't surprise me if his illness was used as a reason for him to abdicate, because there is carnage going on. We've got the Yorks one side, we've got the Sussexes the other side. I mean, and William's in the middle. And I don't think he's without a comment. I think we need to look firmly at him as well. They're all in this together. And you were talking about peerages and stuff, you know, and all of these people are being rewarded for what they're doing and getting knighthoods and stuff. Well, let's not forget that Sir Lawrence van der Post, William's godfather, deceased, was a paedophile. So,
shock,
you know,
horror.
we are surrounded. The royal family is surrounded. I put an X out actually, and I put a whole load of names of people that the royal family were associating with. Reverend Peter Ball, Sir Lawrence van der Post, Jimmy Savile, Lord Mountbatten, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein, Sarah Ferguson, Andrew. You know, who are these people? Because there seems to be a theme going on, and this is going to get way bigger. And Beatrice and Eugenie, I think, are going to get dragged into this because people are saying, oh, well, the daughters, the girls. Well, actually, they're in their 40s. They're not little girls now. They're grown women with families of their own, and they've been receiving gifts from Saudi. Beatrice was at the WEF in January.
Yes,
they're always visiting Saudi. They get gifts from Saudi. They've got connections. They want to keep their royal titles. Well, I think the sensible thing for them would just be to drop their titles, because they're now saying that they don't know where Sarah Ferguson is. She's gone missing. Nobody knows. Nobody's seen her for 2 months.
She's on Epstein's Island.
Oh God, don't. And also Andrew has now, under cover of darkness, been moved to Sandringham, to Wood Farm, I believe, because Marsh Farm wasn't deemed suitable enough. But it wouldn't surprise me, as I've said before, if he just disappears off to the Middle East and we never see him again, and he's never picked up by anybody or questioned. So much more to come. Much more to come.
Well, this clip that you sent me, Debbie, which was on London Conversation, it talks about murder, doesn't he? This, or potential murder. Let's play this. So
I hate to talk about this, but child abuse is not actually being talked about as much in the media as I think it should be with respect to this entire story. I know you've come across it in your previous research on the Mountbattens. Can you tell me a little bit more about the potential overlaps that you may have seen on charity, this type of thing with Sarah Ferguson, Mandelson, and this type of thing, and Ghislaine?
Well, the lots of pieces have been released in these files talking about young girls being abused and trafficked, some as young as 8. I mean, there's stories of girls being killed in rough sex and buried on golf courses. I think that's been investigated. The Surrey police are supposedly investigating a story connected with Andrew to do with young girls and potential murder. So, you know, this story, as I say, has a long way still to run.
Frightening, Debbie.
Well, you know, when you see clips like this, and I've watched Andrew Loney a lot, and I still think, is this AI? Is somebody putting out, is this AI, or is this real? Is this true? And this is the problem now. You don't know what's real and what isn't real. And so many crazy stories are surfacing. You have to do due diligence, and I can't 100% say that clip is not AI or is AI, or you just don't know. But Andrew Loney is certainly talking out a lot about what is going on in and the Royal Rota as well. It's a big story. Keep an eye on what's happening, because I think there's going to be many more names that we haven't yet heard. It's gonna go the story that runs and runs forever. I have a horrible feeling.
Yeah, okay, well, we've got this clip as well, which is where he says he's going to name all the elites, apparently, that went to... But, I mean, they talk about 8-year-old girls, 8-year-olds. It's... I just...
But would not that young, were they?
Well, I mean, you know, there were girls as young as 8.
Really?
I don't say necessarily with Andrew, but certainly there were girls of 8 involved, and there's certainly girls under 16 involved with Andrew.
He had 8-year-old girls on the island.
Yes, girls were brought out.
Shit.
I mean, there it is, isn't it? It's absolutely, when you think it can't get any worse, it gets worse.
I don't know what to say with stuff like that, really, because if I think about it too much, and I think this is, you know, where the apathy may come in for me in a way, is because I'll get very, you know, I'm a very horizontal person, me, Debbie. But when I start thinking about kids, that's when my blood starts to boil, and I can feel my blood boiling. You know, how are these people getting away with this? Where's the arrests? Where's the arrests?
And I think this is why it all comes back to the fact, Ant, that we've got past the point of talking now. And we have to stop asking the questions, and we actually have to do something ourselves and make our feelings known. And if that is millions and millions and millions of us getting up and marching, then so be it, because we need to see the volume of people that are pissed off with the government, not just pissed off, but this is depravity. This is satanic. This is wicked. We need divine intervention as well. We really do. I mean, how much sicker can it get?
I don't know, Debbie. I've struggled this week. I'll be honest with you. I've you know, with everything that's been going on, I've kind of struggled a bit this week. And you know, I'm a pretty chirpy kind of guy normally, and I always try and bring a bit of fun into this, and I'm still trying. But these topics, you can't help it. It drags you right down into the mud. It's horrible. This world at times is horrible.
Yeah, and that is
why.
But that is exactly why, and I've written a piece on X, please go and have a look, but we have to try, as hard as it is, we have to try and smile, and we have to try and be happy, because the one thing that they want is us to be lonely. They want us to be miserable. They want us to be anxious. They want us to be frightened. They want us to be scared. They want us to be confused. All of these negative emotions is exactly what they want. And that's what they're laughing at, because they're going, oh, you know, everybody's panicking, everybody's fed up, everybody wants to leave the country, everybody's saying no to this and no to that. There's division, there's this flag, that direction, right, left. They're loving every minute of it. We have to come together, really do have to come together. It's no good just saying it. We have to come together and stand up against this absolute satanic. We know it's not right. We know this is evil. Now it's up to us. Each one of us has a responsibility, I'm afraid.
Well, that's exactly it. And I've said this in the past, and I've said it in talks that I've been to as well. And, you know, unfortunately, when you have awareness, you do have responsibility. You can't just pass it by.
It's, you know, it's hard. Don't you feel sometimes, you know, you've taken the red pill, and sometimes you think, oh, you know, wouldn't it have been much better if I didn't know what was going on, or I wasn't aware of it, because it takes up your whole life. But what I would say, and I do watch him a lot, and that's FastJet Performance. That's Tim Mills. I think that man is absolutely brilliant. He says it, he's passionate. He's very measured, he's sensible, he's got all sorts of knowledge, because he's fast jet pilot with the RAF for a very long time, so he's got military logistics experience. And he says it as it is, and to me, we need to be listening to people like him and following him and doing and supporting him and pushing his work, because he has a great message, and I don't think anybody can really argue with him, to be honest.
This clip that you sent me as well, it says that Charles did cover up Andrew's heinous crimes. So let's quickly watch this one, and then we'll move on to a different topic. But let's bring this clip up.
Thanks to an astonishing report in The Sun, saying that the then Prince of Wales contributed £1.5 million, that's round about $1.89 million, of the roughly £12 million settlement that effectively, you know, bought Virginia Giuffre's silence in her civil claim against Andrew. And of course, we'll all remember the famous photograph of Andrew with his arm slung around Virginia Giuffre's waist when she was just 17 years old.
Okay, so there's obvious stuff going on there, Debbie.
Of course, they knew. We have to look at the royal family as a whole here. You know, Andrew is being, in my opinion, used as a scapegoat, and Sarah Ferguson has got an awful. Apparently, she's employed a ghostwriter. And I mean, she knows she was there during the Diana years. She's watched everything unfold in front of her. So, you know, there's turbulent times to come, really turbulent times. They all knew about it. They're all as bad as one another. However, you know, people say to me, I'm a monarchist, and I feel awful having to tell them this, because you know, it's opening their eyes to something that perhaps they didn't want their eyes open to, but it's fact, I'm afraid.
Joe Woods just asked Debbie what the site is regarding Tim Mills.
Oh, Fast Jet Performance. He's amazing. Honestly, he's inspirational. He says it as it is. He probably says a lot of the things that many of us want to say. But Fast Jet Performance, Tim Mills on YouTube. And he's just written a book as well, which I have just ordered. So I'm waiting for that to be delivered. The 5 Fs.
So we've had very interesting weather, haven't we?
Got your brolly? Got your brolly? It's been raining every day. Now, why is that, do you think? Do you think that maybe it's being engineered, that it's raining and miserable every single day? Oh, I like that effect. It's raining. It's raining.
It's never stopped raining.
It's pouring. I thought yesterday, actually, we were going to have the first day without rain, but then in the evening, it absolutely tipped it down. So, yeah, the weather throughout the UK since the beginning of the year has been pretty much rain every single day, which has brought misery, floods, everything, carnage, chaos.
Are we being engineered by any chance?
I think so, a little bit, maybe. It's called cloud seeding, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, what you have to think about is Build Back Better. You need to destroy first, right? And you look at the UK, and we're a little island. We're not on a fault line, so we don't get earthquakes. We don't have any volcanoes. We don't really have massive, huge hurricanes and cyclones and massive, huge heat waves either. We're, you know, it's Britain, right? So how are you going to build back better? How are you going to destroy it first? So, well, we could talk about fire. We could talk about a lot of electric bikes and electric scooters, and let's not forget Grenfell. And I do worry how many people are charging their electric bikes and their electric scooters in their front room on the 11th floor of a high rise. But then we also must look at floods, because the UK is literally sinking. And for many, many years, we've been seeing news on flooding, and we're all on flood alert and flood watch. And I'm a bit of an expert, actually, on floods. So, yeah, I see that as the way forward. What would be easier than to flood places out? Because I can tell you as a flood victim that if you are flooded, if your home is flooded, it can take up to a year to get back into your home. You know, with a fire, however tragic that is, and God forbid anybody loses their life, but a fire is quick and it destroys everything, and then you rebuild, and then hopefully, God forbid, that never ever happens to you again. However, many people that flood recurrently over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter whether you've got 1 inch of water or a foot of water. Once water's in your home, it's in your home. And it will take up to 6 months to a year to dry that property out and get it reinstated and move back in again, only for it to flood again and again and again. Now, what are you going to do when you keep flooding places and they're contaminated with sewage, for example? You're going to move people out. You're going to say, sorry, you can't live there. You're going to have to, where are they going to move them to?
Well, let's play this clip while you're talking. I'll just turn that off, and then
turn the audio. So this was where I live, and this is the road that floods constantly with sewage. Now, this road is going to continually flood, not just because of sewage, but also because of surface water. And you can see I'm waving my hand crazily there, and I'm trying to tell people, please don't drive through floodwater. And this is my message today, actually, is I get really increasingly upset with motorists that insist on driving through floodwater. And I have to say, my mother, if you're watching, she bless her, but she said to me, oh, I nearly got caught in flood. Why is anybody driving through floodwater? I want to point a few things out. So these vehicles that you can see that are clearly not listening to me as I'm standing in the middle of the road, I get 2 fingers stuck up at me. I get told to F off, you name it, people screaming at me. But you can see that wave that vehicle is creating, and that wave is going straight into my house and straight into everybody else's house. So while they're very happy to drive through the floodwater and they think that it's shallow enough for them to be able to do it, It's putting the rest of the houses at risk because it's just creating bow waves. Not only that, a lot of the water that they're driving through is sewage. So the manholes have come up. So you've got holes in the road. Now, I've seen a motorcyclist try to get through about this depth of floodwater and lose their wheel straight down a manhole. I see people trying to cross the road and they've got manholes underneath them. And yeah, you won't get insured. You absolutely, if you have flood insurance, you're okay, because they have to keep on with that insurance because they've already given it to you. But if you apply for flood insurance in an area such as this, the likelihood is that your premium will be so high. My premium at one point was nearly £300 a month because I've endured over 100 floods. So I am quite an expert on floods. But these vehicles here, when you hear of people driving through floodwater, number one, floodwater is a very slow way to corrode your brakes. So if you start to get your vehicle wet, and it feels fine the next day, it feels fine the next week, it might not feel fine in 6 months' time when the brakes give out. So there's always the danger of driving through floodwater for that. But it's also look at the bow waves. Look at what, and people are sticking fingers up at me. They don't care. And all I'm trying to do is stop more sewage and more water coming into my home. So please, everybody, the next time you're driving through floodwater, think of the homes that are surrounding you and think of the people that are out there telling you not to drive through floodwater, because we've got a year in which we're going to be out of our homes waiting to get back because we're going to be flooded out. So that's my little rant over for today. But we are a very wet country. There's a lot to say about water and water contamination. And
yeah, there's disease, isn't there?
Well, the easiest way to make people sick is through water. So I've got a lot more to say on water because I've got a few dots to join on water. Especially, I never thought I'd actually hear myself standing up for the water companies. I've got an awful lot to say about water companies. But when the water companies were privatized, you know, the local authorities never gave them the maps of the assets. So actually no water company knows where their assets are. So they don't know whether to clean, where to maintain. They haven't got a clue. There's miles, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles of sewerage network and clean water network that's never been inspected, never been checked, never been maintained. And we're living in an era where our water infrastructure is not fit for purpose. Our health service is not fit for purpose. If you've got those two things, we're in a third world country.
You sent me a clip from Pello's, which I'll bring up quickly. I know we're kind of running out of time. Again, but we'll get through this bit. And then there's a couple. I think there's a couple of important topics that we just wanted to bring up before we finish off. So let's bring this clip up.
You've been telling me stories of septic tanks that are at the point of overflowing or have overflowed.
Yeah.
And that's in people's homes, that's in people's businesses, campsites, off-grid kind of tourism facilities. So give me a sense of what's happening.
So November, December last year was sad. We had customers ringing up in tears on the phone, can't use nothing, toilet drains are all full, everything's backed up with the unprecedented weather we've been having. The ground can't physically take any more. I mean, you see the damage what the flooding is doing at the moment everywhere, and over, not just in the county, but all over the country. They're overflowing. We've also got businesses now, we've had to put back 2 or 3 months for their annual clean-outs because we can't physically get rid of the waste. We've got campsites who are going to be opening up again very shortly, and we might have to have that awkward conversation with them saying, we're going to have to limit you to what we can do, you're going to have to limit your custom. But they can't afford to because they have a rising costs of everything else going on in the world at the moment. And then you've got the crisis in Stadiums, you know, where at the moment you've got sewage literally coming out in the streets.
Street
literally the street in Stadiums. That's
Yeah, and we literally are sinking in sewage. This isn't just in the southwest. This is every water company. Everywhere you go, there are sewage. But why? Because there's no maintenance, there's no checking, there's no cleaning.
Mm.
We are literally sinking, and this is going to lead to water contamination, because you have to remember, where there is a sewage pipe in the road, there's a clean water pipe in the pavement. They're very close together. It doesn't take much to contaminate the water. Anyway, we'll end it there on floods. I've got a lot more to say on water and floods, so keep tuned in the future. And if there's any topics that anybody thinks, oh, they've missed it and they haven't mentioned this or that, then just let us know, and we'll try to accommodate. There's just so much news.
There is indeed. There is indeed. I mean, we wanted to talk about migration, obviously, as well, because that's such a massive topic. And we can run through a couple of the things that's come up this week. The Manchester United co-owner and group chairman, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, has said the UK has been colonised by immigrants. He's been forced to apologise. Simon Jordan, who I think he was Crystal Palace's chairman at one time, or owner, and he's a pundit on TV. He has backed Jim Ratcliffe's stance, saying we have a shift in demographics and people don't like it. So there are people that are trying to talk the truth. I mean, I don't know what the figures are, Debbie, but I believe there is many millions more in our population since 2020, which is only a few years. I don't know what the figures are, but there's
extra
clearly
12 million, I think 58. I think it was 58 million in 2020, and we're looking at 70 million now.
But that can't be sustainable, can it? For our economy, it can't be sustainable in terms of the physicality of the world that we live in. It doesn't make sense. And I've always been a very liberal-minded, left-leaning individual all my life, and I just think this is absolutely insane. It's like, okay, would you leave your house door open for anybody just to walk in? I mean, you just wouldn't, would you? I mean, you just wouldn't do that. So 11 million Wild Dead Wolf has said.
Yeah,
it's
that's 12 million.
That's outrageous figure.
But it's unsustainable, and it's unsustainable for a reason. But it's really great news, isn't it, for the life sciences? Because they've got a whole diverse population stuck on an island. We don't have anything to offer the planet, but we can offer ourselves. So we've got an experimental laboratory. We've got life sciences. This is what it's all about. And I think, when you look at migration, the evidence is there for yourself. I mean, my son has decided he's going to go on a tour and have a look and see what's going on. Two of my sons actually are going to go and have a look and see what's going on in the country, because I'm looking at auditors and I'm looking at people that are filming the streets in Birmingham, in Manchester, in Coventry, all over the place, in Plymouth, in Bristol.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't resemble my country. I'm a Londoner. I was born and brought up in London, and somebody sent me some footage of where I was brought up, and I didn't even know. I had to look again and think, is that the UK? And then I found out it was where I was brought up. I'm not recognizing many of the cities. So am I wrong in saying something? Am I wrong in asking questions? Or all of a sudden am I deemed to be some racist? Because that's the card that's being played at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it is, because then they play the offence card, like you say, and then they're actually going and arresting people in their own homes for social media posts and questioning these things.
Exactly.
That's madness.
I saw a street. I can't remember which video it was, but there was a Christian pastor, and he'd literally been given the goodness knows what degree by the police officer, saying that you can't do this, you can't do that, and yet down the street, people were being called to Muslim prayer. And that was absolutely fine. And people were lining the streets, literally kneeling on the streets. So it's two-tier. Again, it's two-tier for everything. But I just want to be English. Just want to live a quiet life. And it doesn't seem to be quiet at the moment. We need to stand up.
Are they wanting civil kind of disobedience, though? Is that what they want? Of
course they do.
Pushing that? Because once you've got that, people are going, Whatever you need to do to sort this issue out, Mr. Government, please do it. And therefore, digital ID is a perfect way of making sure everyone is tracked and traced, isn't it? Because that track and
UBI
spent 30-odd billion pounds for in 2021 isn't just shelved. That was the start of the infrastructure.
No, it's all still there. I've always said that the NHS is going to be the key to the prison. So they're going to say to you, you've got to have a 6-monthly or a yearly MOT. And if you don't comply with that, that's going to change your life in every shape, way, or form. You might not get access to transport. You might not get access to the bank. You might not get access to the internet. You know, this is all going to be, you've got to be a good citizen. And you've got to be a well, healthy citizen, and we're going to make you well and healthy, and we're going to offer you all of this, blah, 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 blah. And if you don't take it, you're not going to be a good citizen. So you can see where this is going. It's a digital prison. It's a panopticon.
News this morning, Debbie, that came through, just to keep the madness flowing in our country and in the world itself. Children are able to change their pronouns. Shall we watch this clip that's come through this morning? Please.
Wicked. And you know what? We're gonna target the kids on the autism spectrum and those with learning disabilities, and we're going to bribe them with 500 quid worth of vouchers for puberty blockers. This is madness. This is wicked. This is honestly, and parents, you're not going to have control over your children. It's as simple as that. The state want your children.
The state do want your kids, without a doubt.
They're coming for them. They're coming for them, and they're coming for them big time. Parents need to understand there's a term, you know, called allo parenting. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But the plan is that there won't be parents in the future, that babies will be born in through artificial wombs, and you won't have a mummy and a daddy and a brother and a sister. Allo parenting will be the community that look after the child, the state that look after the child. So that's what we're looking, and this is why they're taking powers away from parents every single day. It's going to be to the point where parents are saying we're going to homeschool our children, but you are going to get somebody from the government or from social services, somebody overseeing what you're doing, what you're teaching your child, what message you're putting out. And if you're not putting out the message they want you to put out, it isn't a case anymore of taking your child out of school and schooling them at home. It's a case of, will you get permission to do that? And your child, how do you know what they're going to be taught in school? Have you seen some of the books that they're being shown? Have you seen some of the educational plan lessons that they're being given? And they're saying that they're not promoting this? Of course they are. It is dangerous. I'm so angry. I'm so upset about this. It's just, when are we going to stand up? These are our kids.
I know. It's just frightening. I mean, we've always been indoctrinated in schools, but this is just beyond anything.
No. We have to draw the line somewhere. I'm sorry, everybody,
Got to
but
stop.
we have to. Where is the line going to be? Is it going to be the kids? Is the line the kids, or is it money? Is it when people go to the bank and can't get any money out? Is that when they're going to start standing up? That's what worries me, because I thought originally that when they started jabbing babies and kids with the COVID vaccination, that people would stand up, and they didn't.
No.
And I'm just like, please, everybody, please, we're running out of time. The net's tightening. I'm not saying this to create fear at all. I'm saying it because I know that together, everybody that's fed up with education, puberty blockers, whatever it is, please, let's stand together and we have to do something.
We do. If we don't do it now, there will be no other time.
Too late. We'll be in that
time.
Prison, and there's no way out of that prison. It's a one-way journey.
It's now or never, really. Debbie, we've gone over as
we knew we were. Sorry.
Again, we've got loads to talk about, but we'll just have to come back next week as we do. Now we are going to rebrand to Camp 3 for next week, and we're going to have a different time. We normally do 1 o'clock, but we're going to move to 2 p.m. next week, guys. So please join us next week at 2 o'clock. And we always like to kind of end on a funny. I know this has been these are all serious, heavy topics that we talk about, and we do try and have a smile through the madness. But there is I found a little comedy clip which I think you'll like, Debi, and it kind of fits in with what we've been discussing on today's show anyway. And it's from a TikTok comedian called Pat Smith. So we'll get his name out there, and maybe people can have a look
Pat.
at him. And we'll put him up, and then we'll say goodbye. But thanks very much, everybody, again, that's been watching. Please do go to our website, camp3news.com, and join the mailing list. It is a growing mailing list already. I think we've got nearly 200 people on there already, which is wonderful. We only launched
so much.
Only launched recently, so please do join us on there. Do like, share, and subscribe, because that helps us. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do, and no other reason. And
no other reason.
No other reason at all. But we really appreciate anybody at all that comes and joins in on the chat and watches our show. It means an awful lot to us. Yeah, guys.
We only ask you to do free things as well. If you can like, subscribe. We don't ask for anything else, honestly. It's just means so much to us that you're watching, and that if you can share some of our content, if you can pass the word that Camp 3 exists, that really does mean the world to us. We don't have any skin in the game. We're doing this just because we feel we ought to.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Let's end with a bit of fun, okay? Let's do it.
Keep smiling.
Keep smiling. Bear with me. I'm sharing the wrong screen. That's not even funny, is it?
No, not funny.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, I think we can all agree everything here is a little bit too Chinese. All the restaurants and cafes and that, for a start, way too many noodles. I don't eat noodles. We're going to need pie and mash, ham, egg and chips. I mean, you need to cater to me, yeah? No? I don't think you understand. I'm not from here, okay? I left the UK because I didn't like it, all right? So I need you to change everything to make it feel like it's the UK, yeah? Still no, is it? Right, okay. Well, also, I can't really work at the minute. Anxiety, yeah. So when do I get my money? Obviously, got a few kids at home and all, so they're going to need to come here. That's a no-brainer. Why do you keep saying no? I've noticed as well, there's a lot of Chinese people here as well, isn't it? So I was thinking we could get loads of me over here and we have our own little area, and then you lot can just fuck off. Does that sound good? It doesn't. Well, no, hear me out, because I was thinking if we get loads of me over here, then we can vote in, one of me to be in charge, and then we can all start telling you lot how to live. And after that, I was going to organise some marches where we go through the streets chanting anti-Chinese sentiments. So obviously you'll need to protect us while we do that. That's a no as well, is it? Oh. And finally, I am here illegally. Yeah, didn't respect the rules on that one. So do I just choose any hotel, or have you got certain... Prison?
Right, well, there you go.
Very good. Very good.
The truth
Sobering, though. Think about it, folks. There's a message there.
There is, and I think using comedy is really important, and they are attacking comedy.
Oh yeah, you can't. No, don't. Shh. Can't have banter. Can't tell a joke. Shh. Don't be happy. Don't laugh. Don't smile. Keep smiling.
Have a great weekend, guys. Lots of love.
Bye bye.